Hello, hello, hello. How you all doing today? So, I am live streaming from my hotel. I'm on vacation in California. You saw the title. Why do people think Kenpo is bullshit? I have another guest coming in right now who's a Kenpo. He came actually from Ed Parker Kenpo, and then he ended up getting the Kaja Kenpo later. If you don't know what Kaja Kenpo is, I do encourage you to check out the What is Kaja Kenpo podcast I did on the topic. Let's see here. So I'm just gonna wait for a few people to come in. I don't see anyone here yet, but I'm sure there's one person is watching. Awesome. Thank you for joining me. And yeah, right now, if you want to start commenting, I will bring your comments into the feed. So just give me a second here, real quick, as I share the feed with everyone online. So here we go, sharing, copying, and sharing. So here's that there. And let me see here. And I'm going to go on to Facebook, share it there as well. See here. And again, if you have anything to say, please feel free to say it. I am monitoring the comments somewhat, so feel free to say what you have to say if on the topic of why do people think is bullshit. So right now, if you're watching right now, what do you think? Do you think Kenpo is bullshit? Yes or no? Why? Shoot it out right now. I'll start talking to you in the comments. So if you start, oh, well, I'll talk about it live. You can say it right there and I'll bring it into the topic. I have my guest. He's trying to join in. See if he gets here soon. And let me just put this on Facebook real quick. Let's see here. Meeting ID. Oh, okay. He's asking for the meeting ID number. Oh boy, I don't know if I can do that right now. Yeah. Here, give me a sec here. A sec. Let's see here. Meeting ID number. Let's see here. Meeting ID. Oh, yeah, I do it here. Okay, cool. And sorry, I'm multitasking here. Let me see if anybody commented yet. Not yet. So you guys are just watching and coming and going. All right, let's see here. Okay, and see here. And we are going to start talking about why do people think Kenpo is bullshit in a sec. So please bear with me. So like this conversation is coming from a lot of people get into martial arts for different reasons, right? And I've had other people that came and from Kenpo or started in Kenpo. Maybe they started in Taekwondo or karate. And then later, as they go through their martial arts journey, they end up joining something like Muay Thai kickboxing. And then when they make that transition, some people, different people have different ideas of why they made that transition. But one of the things that some people do when they make that transition is they start feeling like the other art that they did originally is is bullshit. So like if they came from Taekwondo, they start feeling, well, kickboxing, it's full contact, it's not light contact. And because of that, kickboxing is better than, oh, hey, we have our guest here. Hello, Anthony.
Hey, how you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. Let me see here. Turn up my volume a little bit here so I can hear you. So we're live right now, man. You're jumping right into a live stream. So far, no one said anything. Well, yet I'm about to share it on Facebook, so we'll see if anybody has anything to say. Oh, also, if you enjoyed this conversation, please like and subscribe. This is my last day left. If I can get 11 subscribers today, YouTube might give me $5. So that'd be nice. I'd like to have like a free lunch on YouTube. Um, so Anthony, you're the one who contacted me all in a tussy. So if you can tell everyone why you're so upset, the title of this live is why do people think Kenpo is bullshit? And you come from Ed Parker Kenpo and you came into Kaja Kenpo so like I kind of explained that real quick. So where did this conversation come from and why what's going on here, man?
Um, well, I don't know. I think there's a there's a there's a aspect about American, I guess, striking arts that there's like a long history to American striking arts. I think Kempo is part of that. I think Kaju Kempo is part of that. Um, and then there's some flavors of some other stuff like Kyokushin, Taekwondo, some other stuff that's out there. And I think when the whole UFC kind of BJJ craze kind of hit in the 90s, um, there was still this really kind of huge kind of striking component that existed. And I don't know, I feel like people that are part of those communities, those striking communities, whether it be Kempo or Kaju Kempo, or I think they're afraid to kind of identify with those communities. And it's kind of like not popular nowadays. And I think um, like what's like Raymond Daniels is an example of a Parker Kempo guy that's pretty good. Um, how was it? Wonder Boy Thompson's the name of a guy that he's not a Kempo guy per se, although he does a different kind of Kempo. Um, and I just feel like they're pretty powerful strikers, and I feel like there's like a community that it's kind of grown up around these people. It includes people like GSP, for example, and I feel like it's a pretty powerful community. I think it even includes people like Alex Pereira, even. Um, but I feel like there are a lot of people in that same community that are not professional martial artists that are afraid to identify with that community, and that's why I'm pissed off. Because it's not cool. It's not. It's okay to. It's okay to identify with the Gracies, let's say, or it's okay to identify with. I mean, I guess if you're a judo person per se, I guess that's okay. But nobody wants to identify with kind of these American kickboxing types of communities. I would say would be a good way of putting it.
So, and I kind of put that in the title. I said, some people will start in one style and then they'll switch styles later and then they'll hate on the original style they did. And that's what I was talking earlier. Like, so if anybody who joined in
Yeah.
on the conversation, from the very beginning, if they're watching this as a regular video and they're not watching it live, I mentioned earlier about how people will start in one style like Taekwondo or something, and they'll get into kickboxing or jujitsu. And then some of them will turn around and start talking shit about the original style. Like, it sucked because of this and this and
Yeah.
that. Now, not all of them. I mean, I know some people that go on to do MMA. They started in Taekwondo and they just look at Taekwondo as, hey, that's where I started. It's got its weaknesses. They don't block to the face and stuff. I was just talking to Hackelman about this because I was training for those of you who follow my channel, I was just training with Hackelman at the pit yesterday because I'm out here in California. And we were talking over dinner about how he was telling me he knew a Kyokushin guy who did kickboxing, and he was a Japanese guy. He's like, and he names, I'm horrible. He dropped some names. So it was some famous guy, some famous Kyokushin guy who ended up getting really strong into the kickboxing world. And he ended up jumping out doing kickboxing because he lost to a Muay Thai. It was one of those freak fights in Japan where they had the style versus style. And he's the guy in the video if you watch the old videos of a Kyokushin guy fighting a Muay Thai kickboxer who gets kicked in the leg until he can't take the leg kicks anymore, he's the guy who lost. He's the Kyokushin guy who lost. After that loss, that
Oh, that
Kyokushin
kickboxing guy. That's the kickboxing match I think I saw where it's
yeah,
like
it's on
one of
the
the
internet
early ones. Yeah.
early. So if you look at
Yeah.
if you look up Muay Thai versus
Yeah.
Kyokushin, you're gonna see a really old video of a Kyokushin guy losing to a
Yeah.
kickboxer. Couldn't block. He was taking the leg kicks and eventually started taking a bunch of punches in the face because they can't block the face. So anyway, that guy ended up moving forward and getting into kickboxing. And he actually he brought Kyokushin over to Europe. I think Holland it was. And then after he went to Holland, he picked up the Dutch kickboxing style and brought that back to Japan. And then he started winning kickboxing matches. And then he started his own kickboxing school. But his still base, all his students came from Kyokushin because he was still tied to the big people in Kyokushin and their top organization. So the Kyokushin guys just started funneling through him to become kickboxers.
Mm-hmm.
Again, for him, he didn't walk away saying, "Oh, me and Hackelman both said, well, the problem with Kyokushin is their hands are down. They have great training methodology, real tough mentality, a lot of tough guys because you have to be tough to do Kyokushin, but because you have your hands down, you have your head exposed, right? Because they don't do any punches to the face.
They don't have to fight with their hands down. Like Bas Rutten's a Kyokushin guy.
No, but
GSP's a
but
GSP's a Kyokushin guy. They both eventually were able to use their Kyokushin in a context where they could use their hands. So
yeah,
it's the style doesn't prevent you from using your hands. It's just the sport.
yeah,
It's just the sport itself is like Taekwondo where you don't use your hands. Like Taekwondo is the same thing. You only use your feet. You don't use your hands to the face. So that's why the Taekwondo guys who do the Taekwondo tend to not be good with their hands because they don't ever hit the face with their hands, right? So
yeah. So again, like, this is not going to be a very long live. Like I should have said that earlier, but but the whole point that I'm trying to say is that some people, they leave their old style and they don't hate it, right? They don't hate their own style.
why
Like
would they? Yeah, that's
if you look at GSP or Boss Rutan, they just did a video the other day about, hey, this is the stuff that we liked from Kyokushin that we felt helped us in MMA. But again, you can't be a purist either. Like they didn't go into MMA, they didn't go straight from Kyokushin to MMA the way that first guy did who lost really badly when he did so. Like
Well, I don't think anybody. I don't think anybody that has a sense of community that I'm kind of trying to promote is a purist. I think that we all recognize that we'd all suck if we weren't evolving and rolling in new stuff and learning from each other. I think the problem is that when you start doing new stuff, you don't necessarily have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You still might have some good foundational stuff that still you learn from somewhere, and why, like you said, why crap on your original style?
And then to be specific about like the chat room that we were looking at, some of the people were upset saying that when we start talking about people, and he had a little bit of a point, like the people we start talking about in Kaji Kempo in particular and Kenpo, people will bring up people like Chuck Liddell, and they'll start dropping names. And I believe the person was contending the idea that, well, yeah, those are individuals in that art. That doesn't make that art effective. I feel that arts like boxing and kickboxing are superior to Kenpo or Kaji Kempo. Now, I'm putting words in their mouth, but that's kind of the direction they were kind of implying.
Yeah, but that's a very dangerous premise to even talk about because these are communities. It's like saying boxing's a bad art. Or boxing's a bad style. It's boxing, striking. So if you're part of a community, you can have badass people in that same community. It doesn't necessarily mean it's because of the style, but it is in part because of the community. There's energy, there's something to that community, and those people feed off each other. It doesn't mean that the style itself is causing that to happen, but it does mean that those people have a relationship to each other that's valuable. That's why, I mean, that's my whole point. It's not the style. It's how you feed off each other. And that's what I mean by a community like GSP and Wonderboy Thompson train with each other. They're not part of the same style, but that's a powerful community that they built. And then people like Glover Teixeira and Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira is part of the Kaju Kempo and Hawaiian Kempo community now, but he didn't originally start there. He was 18 when he started kickboxing, and he had an original, like a place that he came from that was different. But if you think about the style, I mean, that's like saying, like boxing. It's like saying, well, just because you're a boxer, you're going to fight like Mike Tyson. No, you might not fight like Mike Tyson. You might fight like Floyd Mayweather or somebody else.
You might get lit up the way I did yesterday when I went went
Yeah,
to, I went to John's gym, and he was only
yeah.
doing. And I've been working a lot on more grappling and kickboxing, and I haven't sparred. I mean, I'll hold the mitts and do boxing drills with the guys, but I haven't done boxing sparring against someone who's actually trying to hurt me, because it's all my students and they don't know me over there, so I'm not their students. Now I'm in there as a student, right? And I'm not wearing a belt. Yeah, I got lit up pretty bad by a 25-year-old. So like,
Oh, yeah.
so what happens is, so Angel Rivera says, Happy New Year's, cuz the May 2024. Okay, thank you. Someone just sent me a Happy New Year message in the YouTube videos. Thank you for the comment. At Home Tactical
Happy New
Defense, which
Year.
is Toby. I've never heard anyone label Kenpo as bullshit. Oh man, I'm so happy that you haven't found those dark corners of the internet yet. That's all I'm gonna say to that. I've heard all. Okay, so going right back to what you said earlier, like you were saying, oh, nobody. You said that you did a generalized phrase. You know, nobody says that boxing is better than MMA. I'm like, no, man. Like, I'm sorry, man. I'll say the same thing to you, Anthony. You haven't been to those dark corners of the internet where I've seen like just trolls of MMA people and boxing people just pounding on each other over a boxing video or an MMA video. Someone will jump into a boxing video. Some MMA person will jump into a boxing video, usually like a picture or a video. It's usually a picture of like Tyson's talking about going in MMA or something stupid that's not going to happen. And it just like sucks them all in. And they immediately start saying stuff like what you just said. No, boxing is superior to MMA. No, MMA, like they go off on it. So like that's not necessarily true either. If anything, like if you don't, the internet has it. Okay, if you don't think it exists, Google it and be careful what you Google. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. It exists. It exists. Let me just put it that way. This people are saying it. People are doing it, and we can go way off the topic of martial arts with that comment right there. But we're gonna stick it right back. So yeah, I think one of the reasons that I do see that conversation, and right now I was talking to a guy at. Let me see here. There's a guy. There's a name. He's gonna be on the show soon. Ultimate Kenpo Warriors. Shout out to you, brother. I forgot your name, but he's going to be on the podcast soon, and he's getting trolled all the time. And he's posting videos of his guys doing like punch tricks and point sparring sometimes, but mostly it's like punch tricks and self defense. And people are trolling him all the time. And he also has sparring. He looks like he's trying his best to run his school. But a lot of people troll him, saying, Kempo's bullshit. And Chuck Liddell's name's just getting dropped. And it's like the same conversation over and over and over and over. Chuck Liddell always comes up in these conversations, by the way. Every time people start calling out, saying that Kenpo doesn't work or whatever, people start bringing in Chuck Liddell immediately. Toby says, I live a sheltered life. And Bushido finds its way into every discipline. So yeah, you're right, man. That's one of the things that we have to address. Is the idea, and this is what me and Anthony were talking about. I know what I'm doing for my program. Anthony, me and him, we're friends. I know what Anthony's doing for his program. I know he's incorporating judo. I know he's almost got a brown belt in judo. I'm almost a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I bring in a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu into what I do too. I also have a background in kickboxing and MMA, amateur. I never said I was a professional. I never said I was the best at stuff, but I've always tried my best to incorporate different things to make my base style of Kaju Kenpo evolve and get better and try to offer as much as I can. But I can't speak for everyone, right? When you're talking about the community itself, it's a very large community. And I just said Kenpo on purpose. I didn't say Kaju Kenpo. I said Kenpo on purpose to include the Ed Parker Kenpo guys and the side shots of Shaolin Kenpo and stuff in the conversation. It's a very large community. And not everyone is, even in just my smaller community of Kaju Kenpo, not even all of those guys are training the same. And that's why I have that whole methods series where I break that down, because not everyone's doing the same stuff. So because of that, I fear, like what Toby said right here, what Toby said earlier about Bushido finds its way into every discipline. I fear that we'll just do the broader terms of Kenpo. There are a lot of people that, you've seen that guy that's got he's got the 100 slashes on his, they're making fun of him. They're saying it's like a 100th degree. He's got a black belt in every art. And I'm pretty sure one of them's Kenpo. So there are these guys out there that will gravitate towards an art to get it maybe legit or illegit. We don't know. But once it's on the internet, it's fact apparently. So so those guys will come in and then it makes everyone look bad in the community. I'm going to turn to the comments real quick. We're almost done here, but Steph 2DF. I went from Kaju Kenpo to Judo to Taekwondo to Jiu-Jitsu, and now I'm back in Kaju Kenpo. Kaju Kenpo is a hybrid art that taught me to respect all different arts and what they bring to the table. I love it. That's awesome. Oh, I can be biased. That's why I said Kenpo, not Kaju Kenpo, right? Much love to you too. That's how I was raised in the martial arts. So before we go, is there any So like again, the conversation was the idea that people bring up individuals, not the whole style. And again, why do people think Kenpo is bullshit? Is the title of it, right? Why would an outsider look at this and think anytime they hear Kenpo, they think it's bullshit? So my answer to that question before we wrap it up is I think from an outsider looking in, you never know what they're going to find on the internet. We just said that earlier. And like Toby said, bullshito finds its way into every art. So with the majority of people following MMA and full contact kickboxing, usually, some people boxing, some on the outside looking in, if they it all depends on what they see first. And when we talk about people like Chuck Liddell, well, we know who Chuck Liddell is, but now as the generations go by, that's already old school UFC. We can say Glover Teixeira. We can say Glover, right? It's easier to say that. I can't say his last name, Teixeira. Um, we can say that, but he's kind of starting to. He's still around, but he's not exactly like a Conor McGregor. Okay, no offense. Like as far as name recognition on the outside, people that don't follow the sport, he doesn't have that kind of name recognition yet. Maybe he will. Same with Alex Pereira. They're huge people. I love them to death because they're part of our family, our Ohana. But from the outsider looking in, from the person who kind of casually follows MMA, they're not watching every single fight. These people aren't exactly the names that they think of, right? And then again, going back to what I said earlier, so when they look up Kenpo or they see anything Kenpo, they're most likely gonna find that guy with the 100 sashes on his belt, right? That might be the first guy that they end up finding, or stuff similar to that. A guy with a guy, those videos of the guy pointing the gun at him, and he's like, right? And if they bump into something like that and it says Kenpo on it, it makes the entire community get generalized into a box. What do you think? And you have 3 minutes to answer. You're on mute. Yeah, Anthony, you're on mute. You have to unmute yourself.
Oh, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
I think that if you're as long as you're 50 or more stripes on your belt, then you're fine. No, I think that there's certain circles kind of like bubbles, right? Like we all have bubbles and we see what we see based upon our bubble. So if we're like if our media consumption is in a certain bubble, we might not see other things. And I think but I think on a positive side, I think like if you watch Joe Rogan and a lot of his podcasts lately, there's been a huge trend towards talking about some of these people that I think are reasonable representatives of some of these striking oriented communities that relate to MMA. And I think Alex Pereira is one of the guys he talks a lot about. Glover Teixeira. He's talked a lot about Chuck Liddell recently. The fact that these are individuals doesn't take away from the fact that you know, Mike Tyson proves to a great extent that you can kick ass using the peekaboo style of boxing. Does that mean that everybody who does a peekaboo style of boxing is as good as Mike Tyson? No.
No, I tried to think about
So
it. It did not work out for me.
it didn't work out. Well, yeah. Well, and then and then did you ever hear that story? Remember that Bill Ryosaka story where he was talking about how he got his butt kicked by this Samoan guy, and he
No.
called his dad. And he's like, his dad taught him Shotokan, and he's like, "What'd you do?" He's like, "I tried to fight him." He's like, "What'd you do?" He's like, "You use Shotokan?" He goes, "Yeah." He's like, "I forgot to tell you, the Shotokan doesn't work against Samoan guys." so So you try to use peekaboo style against the Hackelman guys. It doesn't work against them.
No, no, don't. You're 42. Don't do peekaboo style against a 26-year-old kid. Like
Right, right.
they're gonna catch you.
Exactly.
He caught me in the body really bad. And then the other guy he had me going up against was 37. That guy was bigger than me. Well, they were all bigger than me. In Japan, I'm bigger than everyone, and I make up for coming
Different.
here and everyone's bigger than me, and then I get my licks and go back, go back to Japan humbled.
And then to the extent that you have any size in boxing, that just means there's more area for them to hit, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it was yeah. My problem is I thought we were warming up for MMA. So the first 3 rounds I went boxing, I was trying to reserve my gas tank for MMA, not realizing that, and they weren't. They were going at it, and I'm like, I gotta reserve my gas.
Oh,
They're doing like a rope a dope style, but there's no ropes to go lean up against, so I'm just kind of flying around space by being people just getting lit.
Oh, yeah. If you don't have the same cardio as those boxing guys,
But
right?
it's
Like,
good. My cardio was good. Just
yeah.
the name of the
The,
game was liver shots, and I took two good liver shots.
oh,
So Kajikembo Napoli says Kajikembo is MMA by definition. The term MMA is used in the UFC fashion is very subjective. In fact, it's less consistent than we are with techniques and standards across Kajikembo. Yeah, that's a whole other subject right there. Yeah, but yeah. That's something we were mentioning earlier about the different standards according to different schools. Well, we want to thank everyone for joining this live. If you just jumped in, you can jump in the beginning. I'm looking at the numbers here. There's like 8 of you watching. I appreciate that. Again, if you haven't subscribed to the show, please subscribe. If I get 11 more subscribers, I can buy a sandwich, maybe. So yeah, this is a 25-minute. We're about wrapping up at 25 minutes, so it's only a 25-minute live. First 5 minutes you can probably skip because I'm just waiting for Anthony to get here and I'm interested in the topic. But if you want to see what you missed, you can jump in, share, like, subscribe. And I'll be back with another podcast in a few more weeks. Keep an eye out for the pit, the live clean and fight dirty lives that I do with Hackelman every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. On vacation, I'm still doing them. Yeah, so yeah, keep an eye out for that. And anything else you want to tell these people?
no, I'm good. Just
Okay.
whatever you people do, make sure it's the right thing.
Defend yourself. Defend yourself.
Defend yourself.